Attribute fam, peace and blessings. This is Derric Moore, and I wanted to do this quick little video because again, I'm still getting some questions regarding MAA, MAA and Ma'at. As you know, okay, Kemetic spirituality is becoming very, very popular. There's a lot of people who are, gravitating towards it. However, in the process of that happening, there's a lot of people who did not, how would you say, there's a lot of people who basically, they're getting into it, they're just not getting into it. And they didn't have the privilege that a lot of us had, who basically kind of came up during the whole Afrocentric movement, the Afrocentric movement of the 80s and 90s, and early 2000s. Consequently, a lot of these individuals, they're not really, because they didn't come up the way, I came up, or like I said, a few others on this channel, because they did not come up that way, they weren't exposed to the Afrocentric aspect of it. Okay, now that has its pros and its cons, of course. The pros is that as a result of that, they don't have to go through that whole debating part that we had to go through, in which you're debating what you believe and all that kind of stuff, and beating people down on if they disagree with you and everything. They don't have to go through that. That's one of the pluses. However, one of the cons is that they're not familiar with a lot of the history. Okay, they're not familiar with the African origins of Christianity, for instance. They're not familiar with those scholarly works and what have you. Okay, so basically, or what is it, Christianity before Christ? They're not familiar with any of those. Okay, those were books that a lot of us basically, like I said, those of us who basically grew up during the 80s and 90s, grew up during that time, during the Afrocentric movement. Those are books that basically we, for the most part, we already read. Okay, we've already read, we studied, and have moved on. So consequently, like I said, a lot of the newcomers, a lot of the beginners in Kemetic spirituality, they're just now learning that. Okay, so as a result, what ends up happening though, because of them not being exposed to that, and they're kind of, a lot of them, because of this whole information age, a lot of them are getting their information from, they're getting their information from the internet, from watching videos and so forth. Because of that happening, and they're not having anyone to actually talk to about this and balance, what they're reading with what they, their understanding, or whatever, or the case. Because of that not happening, or them not having that, what I found is that there's a lot of these, I would say newcomers, these beginners, they are superimposing their ideas from their former religion onto Kemetic spirituality. They're superimposing their Christian ideals. They're superimposing their Jehovah's Witness, tenets. They're superimposing those different beliefs onto Kemetic spirituality, and consequently, and I know I keep saying that, but basically, as a result of them doing that, what's happening is that we get this interpretation of what Ma'a and Ma'at is, that makes Kemetic spirituality to appear to be a spiritual tradition based upon moralism. Okay, and that's not really the case. Okay, that's not the case. All right. Now, I've mentioned it before. The 42 declarations of MAA, or what some people call the 42 negative confessions, or whichever one you call them. Okay, those were from the scribe Annie. Okay, these were basically negative confessions, negative declarations, or they were declarations, 42 declarations that this individual basically, stated and basically recited for, from what I can imagine and from what I can understand, for during his entire lifetime, to the point that he committed them to memory so that in death, he was able to continue to recite them. All right. That's how he was able to pass his judgment. All right. You did not see the 42 declarations or the 42 negative confessions written all over Kemet. Okay. There wasn't, they weren't inscribed all over the temple walls. Okay. And the reason why is because the 42 declarations or the 42 negative confessions, they are not the 10 commandments. They may have inspired the 10 commandments, but they were not the 10 commandments. The Kemetic people didn't view them as the 10 commandments. Okay? The Kemetic people understood that everybody basically has their own interpretation. I don't want to say interpretation, but they had their own way of living MAA. Okay? They had their own way. And the reason why is because they understood. We are all unique. We are all unique beings. We are all unique spiritual beings. So this is why it was futile to actually tell people, you have to follow this right here. You have to do this right here. Okay? It didn't exist. All right? The Kemetic people, there was a lot of it which was based upon really common sense. Okay? There were certain things that it was automatically assumed there's no reason for us to write a commandment or a law for this. Okay? So I'm saying that mainly because we were already a moralistic, our ancestors of along the Nile, they were very moralistic individuals. They were already moralistic individuals. It doesn't take a genius to figure out that adultery is incorrect. It doesn't take a genius to figure out that you should not kill. It doesn't take a genius to figure that out. There's no reason to write a commandment or a law about that. There's no reason to write a law or commandment about you shouldn't steal, that children should obey their parents. There's no reason to write a law about that. Okay? Now, I understand that in these times, that may be, a lot of people might be thinking, oh, we need it now. And that's because a lot of us really, we have this, this Western indoctrination that has really made us really ill in regards, made our spirits really ill, our soul really ill, really sick. Our mind is really sick. But this can all be corrected by understanding truly what MAA deals with. Okay? Now, this whole idea that MAA deals with moralism is not totally correct, okay? Moralism is basically, this is a new thing that basically came about as, in the creation of organized religion. It's a form of social control, okay? One way of actually thinking of MAA is that, first of all, there is no such thing as good and evil. And the reason why is because good and evil are basically terms that are relative. What might be good for one person is probably evil for another, okay? So I heard it put this way to kind of give you an understanding of what MAA is, and kind of, this is kind of a mind bender, all right? But think of it this way. When you create good, you're at the same time creating evil. When you create evil, you at the same time are creating good. Okay? So think of it that way. Because if you think of it in that sense, that might give you a better understanding of what it means to deal with balance. That might give you a different perspective on this whole thing of white versus black, right versus left. There is no such thing, okay? These, again, are all concepts that basically Westerners have created and have, for the most part, I would say, polluted the world with, okay? But think of it that way. All right. When you look at electricity is not, it has both positives and negative, both a positive and negative charge. It's not evil. Okay. It's all based upon the way in which it's used. Okay. And we have to get into that understanding that that's what MAA actually deals with. Okay. The quicker we get into that understanding, the faster we get into that understanding of what MAA actually deals with, the easier it will be for us to alleviate our minds of this Western indoctrination and this Western illness that we have that's been placed on us in regards to our spiritual development. All right? Once again, if you have any questions, got any comments or so, drop me a line. Again, thanks for your donations. Thanks for sharing, subscribing, and liking. Until next time, Hatapu. Peace.
Just take it on. Just take it on to the house. Come on, Tigolo. Be strong. Be strong, Tigolo. Be strong. Just take it home.